So as I'm about to attend a retreat with Angelo Dilullo, it made me think about me a couple of years ago and some of the challenges that I was meeting with self-inquiry. Self-inquiry into for awakening. For me, this process there's been a lot of like painful emotions. And I know if you've clicked on this video, you might relate to that. How to maintain awareness of the self with painful emotions, right? It's basically the theme of this video. And some of the things I would encounter if I think back to that time, and it was very, this is really challenging territory for me, were like, I would be sitting in meditation. So maybe this is happening for you, sitting in meditation, right? And trying to use self-inquiry, trying to recognize the true nature of myself by resting as awareness, using pointings from people like Ramana Maharishi, Muji, Angelo Adyashanti, Michael Taft, these sorts of non-dual teachers. I'd be trying to rest as awareness, but yet the pain in my body would be so intense, and it would be sort of this in and out, this sort of recognition of awareness, this like, okay, I can abide as awareness, awesome. But then it would be like this, but my body is like screaming at me. It's like there's so much going on in the body that wants to be met with attention. And I would sort of dread, like finishing the meditation sometimes, and even just going about daily life, because the pain body was so flared up, it was so uncomfortable. And then I would be going into the kitchen, making breakfast, and sometimes just feeling like really dysregulated. And trying to maintain that awareness was very difficult for me, because again, the pain body would then become even more pronounced as I was going out about daily life. So it was as if I would sit in meditation and that would bring up painful emotions. And then I was trying to maintain the awareness of self through the day, of my true self. But these emotions were so commanding. And there were things it was saying things like, doubts. Is this awareness or is it not awareness? Why can't I get it right? I've been meditating so much. Or sort of like a sense of like almost like hopelessness to that as well. Sense of real deep, like this sort of energetic restlessness that was really holding out for these emotions to finally shift or pivot, or for a new way of viewing the world to just suddenly reveal itself, where all of this sort of suffering would evaporate and leave the body. And these were the sort of unconscious motives that were running in the background. And I was hearing these pointings from teachers that were basically saying like, don't worry about the emotions, just keep focusing on awareness. So that's how I interpreted it. I remember distinctly hearing from people, and these are very skillful pointings, but for some people, I think you need a different flavor, which I believe we do. We need to actually dance artfully between honoring the pain that's coming up and recognizing awareness. But some teachers would point out, like, shut off the sense gates for initial awakening. Just focus entirely on resting as awareness. But then when the pain body was so activated, it was always online for me. So it was very difficult to really let those teachings in. So but what it did was it put me into this really awkward state of being, where it was like trying to focus on awareness, but underneath that, there was all this like in the pain body going on. So it was like, it just felt fundamentally that something wasn't quite right about that way of orienting in those conditions that I was experiencing. But yet I also intuited that there was something important about maintaining that awareness, because there was something more primary and fundamental that was untainted by all of this. So in a way, the awakening orientation, the recognition of self-orientation was really important. But I also know that through attunement and recalibration, that we can dance between these places. And that's where further down the line, what I had to learn was to allow myself to feel emotions. So let's go into that a little bit. Let's unpack that a little bit. So that we're still focusing on awakening. So our orientation is primary. We want to wake up more deeply to the truth of ourselves, who and what we are. But yet, how do we address this pain that's going on? And I want to share some things that may help you that helped me tremendously to basically start to meet this energy in the body in a way that didn't disregard the pursuit of awakening, which, by the way, is already always here. And maybe that's a good place to start. I mentioned before that there's like a restlessness, an energetic restlessness to this energy, to this pain, when you're trying to rest as awareness throughout the day. And it's sort of like this sense of helplessness, yeah? This sense of, just when's this insight gonna come so I can just get beyond this pain that's happening in my body? If you can recognize that, this took for me seeing over and over again. You just have to keep looking there, looking here. That awakening is never going to be some like special event. It truly, truly is never going to be some huge special event. I mean, some people seem to have these big shifts in identity, this huge rapture experience where they penetrate through to something and then it's so clear and it's like all bliss or something like that. That's what we feel. That's what we feel should be happening. But when we're feeling this pain in the body, it's, for me, it felt very progressive, like where the layers of self kept dropping away slowly but surely. And I know this is the case for other people as well, that don't expect this huge thing that's going to suddenly remove all of your pain. In fact, it's very unlikely that awakening and this sort of pursuit of awakening will not do that, because what we're doing is we are de-identifying from thoughts, right? We're letting go of thoughts. And what that's doing is, thoughts are usually the things that keep us mind identified and numbed out from our bodies. So when we're de-identifying from them, we're actually bringing up more of the stuff that they were concealing. So you really have to look within yourself deeply and honestly. Why do I want awakening? What do I think it's going to get me, rather? Do I really think that it's going to get me something other than what is already here, right now, including my pain, that intense contraction that you probably feel in your midline, maybe in your jaw, in your heart, in your gut, that really tight, uncomfortable energy, or maybe in your shoulders, this like icky, uncomfortable feeling of restlessness and dissatisfaction and dis-ease. Are you hoping that that will just evaporate overnight when you have some breakthrough insight? It's not likely that that will happen if you're experiencing this sort of pain body or trauma pain body, right? So for me, I had to keep seeing that over and over again, that it can only be this. It can only be what is right here in experience. Seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling, and touch, whatever's here right now. So that will hopefully calm that. When you get honest with yourself and look in that place, am I really seeking something that's other than what's right here? You'll start to dismantle that energetic restlessness and hopelessness that is just hoping for something to shift, something dramatic to happen where all of your pain will then just evaporate and go away. So really spend some time looking there honestly and authentically. Another key orientation that I found to be very helpful was, right, so there's this pointing that we need to rest as awareness. We need to maintain the awareness of the self. And for me, what that did was that sometimes created this paradigm where I felt like I had to disregard the emotional experience. So what I would encourage you to do, this is what we need to do, I think, is we need to start building out our energetic capacity, our capacity to hold uncomfortable emotions fully and deeply, and to dance between de-identifying from the thoughts and the stories and the narratives that these painful emotions are surfacing. So for example, if you have a tightness in your neck, it's really tight and you feel like you just can't speak what you want to say, or you can't speak your truth, for example, then basically what you might experience is you'll feel that painful emotion. And then it will really feel like there's this solid, dense, tight narrative behind that. That's like, yeah, I really can't speak. I really can't speak here. There's something really wrong with me. So there's like a thought-based narrative interwoven into this feeling, like it's too unsafe if I speak, in this example. So what we can do is we can, initially that mind-based story is going to be pretty strong, pretty primary. And if we haven't built out our capacity to feel emotions, then what we'll do is we'll be more likely to believe that narrative that I can't speak and let it run our lives, basically. And then maybe we won't do a public speaking thing that we know will benefit us, like a Toastmasters public speaking group, for example, because we're worried that this emotion will just be too strong. So initially, that we'll believe that still. We'll still be in the business of being better and better at de-identifying from thought, and then we'll overlook some thoughts. And if the emotion is particularly strong, we'll gravitate toward believing the narrative because we're scared of feeling the depth of the pain and breathing into it fully and giving it space. So I want to invite you, so rather than going and believing that narrative, you sort of have to become ruthless at questioning the integrity and the validity of these painful emotional experiences, and bring a sense of like loving compassion toward them as well. But that takes, to get to that place, we need to start unhooking from the very believable narratives. And to do that, you have to prove to yourself, I found it to be very useful to prove to yourself, that you do have the capacity to feel these emotions, and that it's actually okay for you to feel these emotions, and you don't need to be gridlocked into this very rigid way of orienting to experience of like, I need to be maintaining awareness all the time throughout the day. So let your attention artfully dance between resting in presence when you feel the pulse of that experience. Let it rest in that. Get familiar with that very powerful and profoundly life-changing orientation. Once you feel the pulse of that energetic pulse of presence, which you may feel in meditation, feel it fully. And then if your emotional pain body gets really activated and it's really intense, let your attention go down into that emotion, into the most squirmy, uncomfortable, painful emotion, in this example, in your neck, and see if you can soften all of the energetic, all of the holding points of that emotion, all of the tightness, and use breath as well, like breathe into it, like you're expanding it out more, like I want to feel this more fully. It wants to be felt, it's coming up and out, not for you to identify with it, but for you to feel it fully and for it to be integrated and released by your depth of feeling. So in this way, you can dance between, like, you're feeling that very real, energetic pulse of presence in your experience. And don't worry, if you're still having doubts that you're experiencing that, it's okay. Then you can actually orient your attention to the doubt that says, this isn't it, this can't be it, I can never get it right. And breathe your attention into that. And then soften back into presence. And just try to bring this attitude to the sensations of, I love you, and you can be here for the rest of your life. This is where devotional practice to something like God comes in very powerfully. Like, God, help me feel this sensation so fully. Like, if you're not religious, just strip away that, but just, how can I love you might be a good question. And breathe into that again, this example, this tightening in the neck. How can I love you? Just let it, give it, oh, how can I support you? How can I allow you to be here even more fully? And let your body just relax, let it move in the way that it wants to move with that energy. And let your attention, when it's ready to unhook as that emotion becomes more neutral, it may take 30 seconds, it may take 30 minutes. Don't have any expectations on it. Just keep bringing this attitude of loving acceptance. As long as you need, I'm here. And then let your attention just dispel back out into presence as soon as it's ready. And keep doing this, just know that this practice, it can always only be here. I'm never gonna have, what if I never experienced a huge rupture into bliss and ecstatic emotion, right? What if I never had that experience? How would I orient my sensations differently? And then you can just feel the painful emotions, whatever's there, and allow it deeply, allow it fully. And then allow your attention to bleed back out and relax back open into its source, into awareness. And then later down the line, you'll start to notice that actually presence, source, and sensation aren't separate things. And you can actually be oriented to the signature of awareness, of spaciousness, of relaxed, your true nature, while feeling really deeply in the body. Your pain or your bliss, whatever's there, it just becomes a dance, a show. So you're not on the right track. You're not on the wrong track. If you want to feel emotions, when you have this really strong, painful experience, especially if you're pain body, you're a highly sensitive person, you're feeling this sort of stuff all of the time, I would encourage you to bring your attention more into the body rather than trying to keep it rigidly stuck in presence and awareness. There's a time and a place for that, for sure, and your instinct will know when that's true. But if you're resonating with this, let yourself trust that. Just trust me, just feel that emotion fully and deeply, and allow yourself to keep opening up and breathing into these very painful, neglected, lonely, and repressed parts of your experience that just need your fullness of attention and love, with the background orientation of awareness, so that they don't consume you, but they do, in fact, get attention that they need. So I hope this helps you. I know it's a very painful place to explore and experience, and it took me a long time to figure this out, that it's okay to feel the sensations. I don't need to be rigidly locked in. It's not going to slow down my awakening. In fact, awakening is already always here, all the time. It can't be anything other than this. So let me open up fully to everything that's here, and turn to those energetic, restless parts of me that think that something big is going to happen, and just keep letting go into this. Okay, much love. I hope this helps.